There is one more method in the various wrapper classes which got inherited from the class java.lang.object, and that method is the equals method. Namaste everyone, I am Gyan and you are watching the session 19 of Java and Web, wrapper classes in Java. The signature of equals method is this one. The equals method is a public method which returns Boolean and accepts a reference of class object. Each wrapper class inherits and overrides the equals method from the class java.lang.object. The equals method returns true if the caller object and the object referenced by the reference variable obj are of same types and store the same content. Here in this case, we have the Java file first.java. In the first.java, we have the class first. In the class first, we have the method main. In the method main, we are creating a new Boolean object which contains true in the constant pool. We know that when we call the method value of to create a new Boolean object, then it will create it in the constant pool. In the next statement, again we are calling the method value of by using the class name Boolean to create a new Boolean object which contains true. But since this object is also going to be created in the constant pool, and in the constant pool a Boolean object already exists with the value true. That's why a new Boolean object containing true again will not be created in the constant pool. And reference to the existing object will be stored into the reference variable b2. So b1 and b2 contains references of the same object. That's why when we compare if b1 is equal to b2 or not by using double equals relational operator, then in that case it will return true because both b1 and b2 contain the same content. In the next case, we are calling the method equals by using the reference variable b1 with b2 as its argument. In this case, we are comparing the content of an object whose reference is stored into the reference variable b1 with the content of an object whose reference is stored into the reference variable b2. Since b1 and b2 contains the references of the same object, that's why their contents are equal because we are comparing the contents of the same object. That's how in this case the equals method will return true. In this case, we are creating a new long object with the value 22. Since the value 22 is in the range of -128 to 127, that's why an object which contains the value 22 will be created in the constant pool. And reference to that created object will be stored into the reference variable L1. In the next statement, again we need to create a new long object whose value is 22. Since this value is again less than -128 and greater than 127, that's why a new long object has to be created in the constant pool. But in the constant pool, a long object already exists with the same value. That's why it will not create a new long object which contains 22, and reference to the existing object will be stored into the reference variable L2. That's why L1 and L2 are pointing to the same object. In the next statement, again we are calling the method value of by using the class name long, and we are using the number 165 as its argument. So it will create a new object in the heap with 165 as its content, and reference to that object will be stored into the reference variable L3. It will not be created in the constant pool because the number 165 is not in the range of -128 to 127. In the next statement, again we are calling the method value of by using the class name long and by using the value 165. Again the value 165 is not in the range of -128 to 127. That's how in this case also it will create a new object in the heap which contains 165. But objects of the same class with the same value can be duplicated in the heap. Wrapper objects of the same class with the same value cannot be duplicated in the constant pool. But the wrapper objects of the same class and same content can be duplicated, or more correctly saying will be duplicated in the heap. So the reference to the newly created long object will be stored into the reference variable L4. So L3 and L4 are not pointing to the same object. They are pointing to different objects. That's why when we compare if L1 is equal to L2 or not by using double equals operator, then in that case it returns true because L1 and L2 are same. Both are pointing to this object in the constant pool. But when we are comparing if L3 is equal to L4 or not by using double equals operator, then in this case it is not true. It is not true because content of L3 and L4 are different. You can see here. That's why in this case it returns false. In the next statement, we are calling the method equals by using the reference variable L1 and L2 as its argument. So we are comparing content of an object whose reference is stored into the reference variable L1 with the content of an object whose reference is stored into the reference variable L2. That's why we are comparing the content of this object with content of the same object. That's why in this case the equals method will return true. In another case, we are calling the equals method by using the reference variable L3 with L4 as its argument. So we are comparing the content of an object whose reference is stored into the reference variable L3 with content of an object whose reference is stored into the reference variable L4. The content of these two objects are same. That's why in this case also the equals method will return true. Here in the first statement, we are creating a new character object with the content A, and since the value of A is in the range of 0000 to 007F in hexadecimal, that's why a character object containing the Unicode of A will be created in the constant pool, and reference to that object will be stored into the reference variable C1. It should be C1, not L1. In the next statement, again we are creating a new character object with the same content, since this content is also in the range of 0000 to 007F. That's why we need to create a new character object in the constant pool again. But in the constant pool, an object which contains A already exists. That's why it will not duplicate the same object. And reference to the same object which was created in the first statement will be stored into the reference variable C2. That's why C1 and C2 are pointing to the same object. In the next case, we are creating a new character object with the value 0950, the Unicode value 0950. This value is not in the range of 0000 to 007F in hexadecimal. This value is not in that range. That's why the character object with this Unicode will be created in the heap, and reference to that object will be stored into the reference variable C3. This Unicode represents a Sanskrit character Om. Again, in the next statement, we are creating a new character object with the same content. Again, this content is out of the range of 0000 to 007F. That's why the character object containing this Unicode again will be created in the heap. Even a character object already exists with the same content in the heap. But again, a new character object will be created in the heap which contains the same content, and a reference to that object will be stored into the reference variable C3. Because any wrapper class object with the same content present in the heap cannot be reused. But the wrapper class objects with the same content present in the constant pool can be reused. Then we are checking if C1 is equal to C2 or not by using double equals operator. Yes, C1 and C2 are equal. Their contents are equal. That's why in this case the program will print true. Again we are checking if C3 is equal to C4 or not. No, they are not equal. C3 is not equal to, it should be C4. C3 is not equal to C4. That's how in this case program prints false. In the next statement, we are calling the method equals by using the reference variable C1 with C2 as its argument. Then we are checking the content of an object whose reference is stored into the reference variable C1 is same as the content of the object whose reference is stored into the reference variable C2 or not. Since they are pointing to the same object, that's why their content must be equal. That's how in this case the equals method will return true. In the next statement, we are calling the method equals by using the reference variable C3 with C4 as its argument. In this case, we are checking if the content of a character object whose reference is stored into the reference variable C3 is equal to the content of a character object whose reference is stored into the reference variable C4 are equal or not. Content of these two objects are equal or not. Yes, they are equal. So in this case, the equals method will return true. In this case, we are creating a new byte object with the content 2, and that will be created in the constant pool. In the second statement, we are creating a new integer object with the content 2, and that will also be created in the constant pool. Since they are of different types, one object is of type byte and other object is of type integer. So they will be created in the constant pool and they will be different objects. Even if their contents are same, but their types are different. We cannot compare reference variable of one class with reference variable of another class. This is a compile time error. And if we call the equals method by using the reference variable b with I as its argument, then the equals method will return false. And same is the true when we call the method equals by using the reference variable I and use the reference variable b as its argument. Let me try this code practically. Open first.java and this is the same code as we have seen. Try to compile this code. Java C first.java. The compiler throws an error. Incomparable types byte and integer. What is the meaning of incomparable? We will look at it in the later sessions of Java and Web. But at this time you just remember that two different wrapper classes cannot be compared even if they have the same values. So let me comment out this statement because we cannot compare two different wrapper classes. Now compile it. Java C first.java. Compiles fine. Now run it. Java, it should be Java first. Press enter and it returns false because two types are different. B is of different type than I. That's why in this case even their contents are same, the equals method returns false. And same is true for if we call the method equals by using the reference variable I and use the reference variable b as its argument. Compile it. Java C first.java. Compiles fine. Now run it. It runs fine and again printing false. Here we have the Java file first.java. In the first.java we have the class first. In the class first we have the method main. In the method main we are creating a new float object with the value 2.0f. And we know that a float object never gets cached in constant pool. That's why for these two calls of the method value of, two new float objects will be created in the heap with the same content 2.0. And same is the case when we create double object by using the method value of. We are creating two double objects, one with the content 2.0 and other with the content 2.2. And same as the float, the double objects also never gets created in the constant pool. They always get created in the heap. So these two are two different objects with the same content because float object never gets created in the constant pool. So in the heap, two different objects will be created even for the same content. Then we are checking if f1 is equal to f2 or not. No, f1 and f2 are not equal because they are two different objects with the same content in the heap. That's why the content of f1 and f2 are different. That's why in this case it will result false. But when we call the method equals by using the reference variable f1 and f2 as its argument, then we are comparing the content. We are comparing the content of float. The content of float are same. That's why in this case the equals method returns true. In this case we are comparing the references d1 and d2. Of course their references are different. That's why in this case the double equals variable will return false. And then we are calling the method equals by using the reference variable d1 with d2 as its argument. In this case also the equals method will return false because their content are not same, they are different. That's all for this video guys. Don't forget to like and share this video, subscribe my channel on YouTube, like my page on Facebook and leave your valuable comments in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video.